Have you ever felt like you had to shout just to be heard? But what if I told you, sometimes true power is found in silence? In a world that never stops shouting, the one who doesn't need to speak is often the one everyone notices. You don't need to chase approval, because when you walk with quiet confidence, the world has no choice but to pay attention. You don't need to raise your voice to be heard. You don't need to boast to be known. And you surely don't need to chase approval to be respected, because when you walk with quiet confidence, people will notice. There is something uniquely captivating about a calm, grounded spirit that draws attention without begging for it. In a world filled with shouting, arguing, performing, and constantly trying to impress, there are those who simply don't need to try. They know their worth isn't tied to applause. They don't have to put on a show. They carry an invisible weight, a quiet gravity. You can sense it the moment they walk into a room, not because they make a scene, but because they don't need to. Their presence speaks long before their mouth ever does. Listen carefully. There is a strength that is born in silence, a strength that doesn't need to prove itself. And when you live from that place, when you walk in quiet confidence, respect will naturally follow. Because people don't truly admire the loudest voice in the room. They admire the steady one, the one who doesn't sway with the winds of public opinion. Sometimes that kind of person might be overlooked for a season. But when the storm comes, when panic rises, that's the person people turn to. That's the person they follow. Because true leadership doesn't demand attention, it commands it through character. You don't need to tell people who you are when your life already shows it. When your actions align with your core values, when your posture reflects your inner peace, people begin to respect you not because you forced them to, but because you gave them no other option. There's something deeply unshakable about a man or woman who isn't trying to impress anyone. When you stop needing to be liked and start choosing to be faithful to your principles, to your purpose, to your discipline, you carry an energy that this world simply cannot ignore. But here's the truth, most people won't tell you. It takes courage to be quiet in a loud world. It takes courage to be still when others are racing. It takes courage to be unseen for a season, to do the work in silence, to grow without needing anyone's applause. But if you stay rooted, if you keep walking with that quiet strength, one day your fruit will speak for you. The right people will notice. The right doors will open not because you shouted for them, but because your preparation made you undeniable. Some people try so hard to be noticed, they end up being overlooked. But the one who waits patiently, who sharpens their mind, who disciplines their soul, that's the one who stands tall when the moment arrives. Real confidence isn't loud. It rarely announces itself. It simply shows up. It meets your gaze without fear. It listens more than it speaks. It doesn't chase at attracts. And when you walk in quiet confidence, you don't just command respect, you inspire others to rise higher. This is the kind of strength that doesn't show off. It just exists. It doesn't boast. It doesn't compete, completes. You don't need to explain yourself to people who don't want to understand you. Because when you truly know your worth, silence becomes your strategy. You choose when to speak. You choose where to invest your energy, and that choice, that discernment, will set you apart. In this noisy, distracted generation, people don't respect desperation, they respect direction. They respect restraint. They respect the one who moves through life without constantly needing validation. That's how you command respect, not by demanding it, but by living in a way that makes it impossible not to give it. When you carry yourself with that kind of assurance, even your enemies must pause. Even those who disagree with you will have to admit there's something solid about you. There's something true. So don't rush to prove yourself. Don't scramble to be seen. Stay steady, stay faithful, keep building. And let the strength of your spirit, the discipline of your actions, and the peace on your face tell the world everything they need to know. There will come a moment in your life when you must decide not just who you are, but what you will allow. It's not enough to be kind. It's not enough to be humble. If you want people to respect you, you must also learn to set boundaries. Not because you're angry, not because you want to push people away, but because peace has a price, and clarity, that is love. We've talked about the power of quiet confidence, about living in such a way that respect finds you without needing to raise your voice. But to sustain that, you must develop a crucial skill, the ability to say number. You see, no is not always about rejection. Sometimes it's about value. When you say no to what drains you, you are saying yes to what builds you. And if you want to be respected by others, you must first respect your own capacity and limits. Many of us keep apologizing for our boundaries. We feel the need to explain why we couldn't be there, why we didn't reply right away, why we had to say, "That's enough." But hear me clearly. The right people don't need explanations. They honor your boundaries because they recognize your self-worth. The wrong people, they will get offended no matter how gentle your words are. So why keep explaining yourself to those who have already decided not to understand you? You don't have to sacrifice your peace just to prove your point. There will be moments when setting boundaries costs you some relationships. And that's okay, because if a connection demands the death of your voice, your dignity, or your direction, that's not a connection. It's a trap. There is no level of loyalty that should ever force you to betray yourself. If someone only values you when you're convenient for them, then they never truly valued you at all. True respect begins when you can look someone in the eye and say, "This is who I am. This is what I need, and I will not apologize for honoring that." Of course it's not easy. Some people may call you distant. Some may say, "You've changed." And maybe you have. Maybe you've grown. Maybe you've realized that loving others does not mean losing yourself. Maybe you've finally seen that being constantly available is not a virtue, it's a weakness in disguise. If you are always living at the mercy of others, you are not truly walking in your own strength. But remember this, boundaries are not walls to keep people out. Boundaries are bridges. Bridges that lead to truth, respect, and mutual understanding. You don't have to be harsh. You don't have to raise your voice. You simply have to be clear. You just need to know where you stand and where you draw the line. Once that is known, people will either adjust or they will walk away. Either way, you will stand strong. And when you stand strong in your boundaries, you won't need to fight for respect anymore. It will find you. It will follow you. Because people will see that you are not shaken by pressure. You are not desperate for approval. You are not easily moved by manipulation. You know who you are, and you show that by how you protect your time, your space, your peace, and your purpose. There is great power in your words, greater than most people realize. What you say, and more importantly, what you do after you say itis, how others measure your character. People do not respect those who promise the world but deliver nothing. But when you keep your word, when you stand by your commitment 7 when it costs you, you build a foundation of trust. And that trust commands respect without you having to demand it. It's easy to speak quickly in the heat of the moment. It's easy to make promises when you're excited or to agree to things because you want to be liked. But the real test is this. Will you keep your word when it gets hard? Will you keep your word when no one is watching? Will you keep your word when it costs you? When it's inconvenient? When it's uncomfortable? That's when your integrity will either shinny or fade away. You see, integrity is rare. It takes courage to be the person who follows through, even when the crowd walks away. It takes strength to say, "I will do what I said I would do," even if it means sacrifice or disappointment. Living this way is not about praise, it's about knowing your word is your bond. And when you live like this, people will notice. They may not always say it out loud, but deep inside, they will respect you. There is a kind of respect that money can't buy, fame can't bring, and charm can't fake. It comes from consistency and faithfulness to what you say. It is built in the quiet moments, when you show up early, when you complete the tasks no one else wants to do, when you admit your mistakes and make them right. If this message is touching your heart today, I encourage you to subscribe to Divine Strength Daily right now, so you can be reminded every day that integrity and inner strength are priceless. Because trust is the soil in which respect grows. But let's be clear, keeping your word does not mean being perfect. It means being honest. If you make a mistake, own it. If circumstances change, communicate it. But never treat your words lightly. Never make promises you don't intend to keep. Because once trust is broken, respect is nearly impossible to regain. Many people have lost respect not because they were bad, but because they did not understand the weight their words carried. They spoke too quickly, made empty promises, or walked away when things became difficult. And when that happens, people begin to doubt not because they want to, but because they have to. You may be excellent at speaking, but if your actions don't follow your words become empty noise. Think about the people you respect most in your life. They are the ones who say what they mean and do what they say. They don't just talk about loyalty or honesty, they live it. Their words are like shields and beacons. People can rely on them, knowing they won't be left behind in the dark or abandoned in the middle of a storm. In a world full of broken promises, becoming the person who keeps their word will set you apart. It will make you rare. It will make you valuable. It will make you respected. That kind of respect is not loud, but it is powerful. It opens doors that you don't need to beg for. It builds bridges where others only see walls. And in the next part, we'll explore this life-changing truth. When you keep your word, not only will others respect you, you will start to respect yourself. That's the foundation of living strong, steady, and unshakable. When you live like this, when you firmly protect your peace in a noisy world, respect will naturally come to you. You don't have to demand it, because it will follow you as something you deserve. In the rush and noise of life, there is a quiet power in knowing what you don't need to participate in. There is nothing more admirable than a person who fiercely guards their time and energy. When you refuse to be dragged into foolishness, pointless arguments, or cheap gossip, you send a message that is louder than words. You live on higher ground. And if someone wants to walk with you, they must step up to that level or they will quietly step out of your life. Have you noticed? Many people confuse being busy with being important. They think being involved in every argument, every complaint, every little conflict makes them valuable. But the truth is, real strength lies in what you choose not to engage in. When you are confident enough to say, "This is not worthy of my time. This argument doesn't need my presence. I don't need to react to things that don't bring value." That is a sign of wisdom and maturity. Gossip is like a slow poison. It seems harmless at first, just casual words, just stories passing by. But over time, it breaks trust, plants seeds of suspicion, and slowly destroys relationships. When you refuse to engage in gossip, you become a safe place for honesty and peace. People begin to realize you are not the one who stirs the pot. You are the one who keeps it calm. And that kind of person is always respected because they protect what others so easily neglect. Drama is another trap that many fall into without even realizing it. It feeds on emotion, on chaos, on exaggeration. It pulls people in with the promise of excitement, but always leaves behind exhaustion and confusion. When you have the strength to rise above drama, when you refuse to be baited into meaningless conflict, you are showing the world that my peace is not for sale. My life is not a playground for someone else's insecurity. You see, shallowness is everywhere. Reckless words, impulsive actions, endless arguments. When you step into that space, you lower yourself to a level where respect cannot follow. But when you step above it, when you choose patience, when you choose silence instead of instant reaction, you display a strength that cannot be challenged. People always respect those who control their environment, and they control their environment by first controlling themselves. You don't need to explain why you're not participating in every argument. You don't owe anyone a justification for walking away from negativity. In fact, the more you explain, the more you invite trouble into your life. True respect comes when you set clear standards and hold them without apology. When you choose silence over shouting, peace over chaos, wisdom over impulse, people start to see that you have boundaries. You have values that cannot be violated. Imagine walking into a room where everyone is caught up in petty disputes, and you stand there calm, steady, untouched. Your very presence becomes a reminder to everyone that there is another way, a way of grace, strength, and self-control. That kind of presence is magnetic. It draws people in because it represents safety, clarity, and the peace this world is starving for. You know, the Bible teaches us, a gentle answer turns away wrath. How we respond often matters more than what happens to us. When you refuse to add fuel to the fire, when you decline to spread gossip, when you choose to step away from meaningless drama, you are choosing a gentle answer. And that answer not only calms anger, but it also dissolves tension and opens the door for genuine respect. This does not mean you ignore real problems. It does not mean you avoid necessary confrontation. It simply means you choose your battles wisely. You do not waste your time and energy on arguments that lead nowhere. You stay focused on what matters. Your integrity, your mission, your inner peace. And that kind of wisdom, that ability to discern is what earns respect. People see in you a depth, a maturity, a stability that is rare. Make no mistake, people will test you. They will try to pull you into their negativity, into their chaos, into their small battles. But your refusal to engage is not weakness, it is strength. It is your declaration. I will not be controlled by the chaos around me. And people respect that because you offer them stability in a world that constantly feels unstable. When you choose silence over noise, restraint over impulse, peace over conflict, you are teaching people a lesson they cannot learn any other way. You are showing them that respect is not reserved, for the loudest it is given to the wise, to the steady, to the self-controlled. You become a living example of what it means to truly command respect. So guard your peace carefully. Treat your energy like the precious gift that it is. Do not waste your days in pointless arguments, meaningless stories, or empty gossip. When you live this way, you will never have to chase respect. Respect will find you just like a magnet draws in steel. You see, self-control is a power that few truly understand. Anyone can be strong when life is easy, when the sun is shining, and when the road is smooth. But true strength, true respect is forged in the moments that test you the most. When you are insulted, overlooked, or pushed to the edge, how you respond will reveal your true character. Anyone can get angry. Anyone can lash out. But the one who holds their peace in the middle of the storm, the one who stays composed is the one people respect. Because self-control is not weakness, it is the highest form of strength. It takes more courage to stay calm while you're hurting than to scream your pain. It takes more discipline to stay composed than to lose yourself to the emotions of the moment. Think about the people you truly respect, not just for their success, but for their character. You respect the ones who stay calm under pressure. You admire those who respond with grace when attacked. You look up to those who refuse to lower themselves to the level of insult or retaliation. That kind of restraint, that is a silent command. It says, I am bigger than this moment. I am not defined by your words or your actions. I stand firm in who I am. You know, the Bible reminds us, The tongue holds the power of life and death. It can build up or tear down. When you allow anger to control your words, you give away your power. You become a slave to your emotions instead of mastering them. But when you choose silence, patience, and carefully measured words, you reclaim your power. You show that you are not driven by circumstances. You are led by conviction. Every moment you maintain self-control. Every time you choose calm over impulse, you are not just strengthening the respect others have for you, you are building a fortress around your own reputation. And remember, this is not just about how others see you, it's about how you see yourself. Nothing will strengthen your spirit more than knowing you are the master of your emotions. When you refuse to let anger dictate your actions, you are protecting your dignity. You are protecting your future. You are guarding the peace you've worked so hard to build. In life, there will always be people who test your patience, people who say things to hurt you, people who try to provoke you into a reckless reaction. But when you respond with self-control, you strip them of their power. You take the weapon of their words and turn it into dust. They wanted a fight, you gave them grace. They expected chaos, you offered peace. And you know what? Peace is power. Peace carries weight. Peace is a force that commands respect. When you remain calm in the middle of storms, people cannot help but notice. They will say, "There is something different about this person." You are not shaken by the winds of conflict. You stand firm like a city on a hill, steady and bright. When others crumble under pressure, you remain standing. When others are consumed by rage, you become the voice of reason. When others are quick to attack, you are slow to anger. And that is the kind of person people follow, the kind of person people respect. But remember, self-control is a discipline. It must be practiced. It will not come automatically. It comes from knowing who you are, from living for a purpose greater than momentary emotions, and from deeply understanding that respect is built in the quiet moments of restraint. So when you feel the heat of offense, pause and take a breath. When you are tempted to lash out, hold back. When you feel like responding with harshness, choose silence or a gentle word instead. This is the way of true strength. This is the way of deep respect. This is how you command honor without demanding it. There is clarity and power when you focus on your own path and tune out the noise of others' opinions. In this world where everyone seems to have a comment, a judgment, an expectation, it is tempting to get distracted, to try to please everyone, to bend with every breeze of criticism or praise. But respect does not belong to those who are easily swayed. It belongs to those who are steady, consistent, and clear about their mission. When you make your purpose the center of your life, when you lock in on what you were called to do, you send a message, not through words, but through action. People respect that kind of clarity. They are drawn to it because it shows strength and conviction. It says, "I know where I'm going, and I will not be moved." That kind of focus commands respect immediately. Too many people allow themselves to be distracted by the opinions of others. They search for validation in the wrong places and lose themselves along the way. But the focused person knows their value is not dependent on approval. Their confidence comes from within, from knowing who they are and what they were created to accomplish. There is freedom in that focus, a freedom others admire but cannot easily replicate. When you are focused, you no longer waste time worrying about who is talking about you, what they're saying, or how they're trying to undermine you. You stay on your path. You keep working. You keep growing. And over time, your consistency becomes your testimony. Respect is attracted to consistency. It is drawn to the person who shows up every day, ready to do the work, no matter the circumstances. It is drawn to those who don't quit when things get hard or when others doubt them. That kind of consistency speaks louder than any words. It tells the world, "I am committed. I am serious. I am worthy of your respect. When you stay focused on your mission, you are not just earning respect, you are protecting your peace. Because when your attention is locked on your goals, there is less room for distractions, less room for doubt, and less room for fear. Your mind becomes a fortress. Your spirit becomes unshakable. You no longer need to fight for respect. Your focus makes it inevitable. There will always be voices trying to pull you away from your purpose. Voices telling you that you are not enough, that you are too small, that you will never succeed. But the focused person hears those voices and keeps moving. They do not waste time debating. They do not waste energy defending themselves. They keep their eyes on the prize and their feet on the path. Remember, greatness is not about pleasing everyone. It's about pleasing the one who called you and staying faithful to that calling. When you align yourself with that truth, when you move forward with unwavering discipline and faith, respect will follow you like a shadow. It does not rely on popularity or applause. It rests on your commitment to your mission. The focused person does not need to explain their journey. They do not need to justify their choices. Their work, their growth, their progress speaks for them. Others will watch in wonder, asking, how do they keep going in a world full of noise and distractions? The answer is simple. They have decided not to be moved by passing opinions. They have chosen to focus on themselves and the calling they carry. And that is the key to truly commanding respect. Not by fighting for it, not by begging for it, but by earning it daily through clarity, consistency, and an unshakable commitment to your purpose. When you live like this, people cannot help but respect you, because you've shown them what it really means to be disciplined, to be strong, and to be true to yourself. So today, make the choice to focus on yourself, not in selfishness, but in faithfulness. Focus on your mission, your growth, your values. Tune out the noise that tries to pull you away. Stay steady, stay consistent. Keep moving forward, and you will see respect will come to you not as a favor, but as a natural consequence of your dedication. Because when you focus on your mission and stay true to your purpose, respect will no longer be something you search for. It will become something you naturally command. If this message has inspired you today, I invite you to subscribe to Divine Strength Daily right now, so you can continue receiving powerful, faith-filled messages that help you walk with purpose, live with discipline, and grow into the person God created you to be. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Stay strong, and I'll see you in the next video.